On February 11, 2013, we published our findings in a video titled Object of Interest as Seen from the Turrialba Volcano. In this frame, you see bluebonnet above the Turrialba volcano and specification data for the volcan feed. Turrialba is 10 degrees north of the equator at approximately 11,000 feet, and the volcan camera was pointed to the southwest with a good view of the Pacific Ocean on a clear day. In that video, we explain the difference between the horizon as we see it here on Earth and represented by the red line. The green line you see cutting through the center of the Sun is the ecliptic. The ecliptic is the plane of our solar system, and all of the planets orbit the Sun within a few degrees of it. This is important to know when analyzing a newly revealed and disturbing prediction by Nostradamus. In October 2007, the History Channel aired The Lost Book of Nostradamus for the first time. In this video, 7 prophetic images paint a catastrophic end to life as we know it. According to this program, Nostradamus is showing us the constellation of Fucus because it will play a pivotal role in the flyby. This was interesting because the volcan feed image data also shows bluebonnet transiting through or very near to the constellations Ophiuchus and Sagittarius in December of last year. Then on April 20th, 2013, we released an update video titled Blue Kachina and its Moon for our Turrialba Object of Interest. In doing our research, we began developing a new technique to analyze the imaging capabilities of the volcan feed camera at Turrialba. We initially used this technique in a rather limited way, but it later evolved into a powerful image analysis method. Also noted in this update was a video released by the 00 Skyview team on March 23, 2013 titled The 5 Uploaded Images from the Dance of the Stars video. In that video, they provided a chart that gave us an interesting possibility for potential orbitals in the vicinity of Ophiuchus. Following months of observations and capturing hundreds of images to our database, we were able to plot a rough orbit for bluebonnet, which we determined to be an outermost orbital of the Planet X system brown dwarf companion to our own Sun. Ergo, bluebonnet does not orbit our Sun, but rather something else that does. We also looked at the predictions of remote viewer Major Ed Dames about these times and what the Colburn Bible tells us to expect. The first passage of manuscripts 3:4 begins with, "When blood drops upon the earth, the destroyer will appear, and mountains will open up and belch forth fire and ashes." This is a key passage, so let's take a moment to study it. When blood drops upon the earth refers to the iron dust cloud surrounding the Planet X system. The destroyer will appear. What this tells us is that the iron dust cloud precedes the arrival of the destroyer, which in this case is Planet X, the ancient Hebrew and Egyptian description for this mini constellation. And the rest just doesn't get any better. On July 8, 2013, the 00 Skyview team posted a new video titled Fire in the Sky Part 3. The term KBO stands for Kuiper Belt Object, which is a classification for Planet X. Potential orbitals refers to the planets and moons in orbit around the KBO. And here they finally ask the question, is this our binary star? The reason they posted that question to the viewer is because they've observed a large nucleus for the KBO. But it was their second video on the 12th of that month titled A Cyclical Storm Brews that really got our attention. Near the end of the video, they announced that they followed our Turrialba volcano research and the object I dubbed Bluebonnet. We then get a warm attaboy from the good folks at the 00 Skyview. Thank you, fellas. Your kind words of support were greatly appreciated, and we certainly hope to see you on the backside. Because you corroborated our observations of Bluebonnet, we were able to take a big step forward. On July 28, 2013, we posted our video, Planet X System Observations and Orbital Analysis, with featured observer Jorge Arena. Early on, an old debunking attack that Bluebonnet is a reflection because it appears in front of the sun was disproved with a series of Vulcan feed captures. The series clearly shows Bluebonnet slipping behind the clouds. Also, the image analysis method we first introduced to our viewers in April was formalized and presented in detail. We call it Camera Sensor Illumination, CSI, and we used it to compare two Bluebonnet captures from this year, one from January and the other from May. Our CSI analysis shows that Bluebonnet has been growing larger and brighter. Likewise, CSI was used to evaluate the observation images of Jorge Arena. He is an importer of Peruvian foods and herbals, and he's based in Ontario, Canada. On May 27, 2013, while flying over the Eastern Pacific, he imaged the brown dwarf at the core of the Planet X system. While it appears at the Sun's 11 o'clock position relative to Earth's horizon, the actual placement relative to the ecliptic is below the ecliptic and near the Sun's 8 o'clock position. Also note that the Vulcan feed in Costa Rica is pointed towards the southwest at an elevation of approximately 11,000 feet, and that when Jorge took his picture, he was at 37,000 feet. And his camera was also pointed towards the southwest. And once again, we find an interesting connection between Jorge's observation and the 2008 ESA-NASA Ulysses probe data presented earlier. Using the data available on Bluebonnet plus Jorge's images, we were able to approximate the orbit of the Planet X mini-constellation through the core of our solar system. What this corroborates is the prediction of the 00 Skyview team that the Planet X flyby would happen on our side of the Sun in their November 1st, 2012 video titled Lifting the Veil. Further to that, in a September 2008 interview with Carrie Cassidy of Project Camelot, government whistleblower Bob Dean predicted the very same thing, that the Planet X flyby will occur when it is on our side of the Sun. And now, a moment of truth. Everything you've seen up to this point is intelligence. That is, a connected collection of fragments and shards of truth that happen to slip past years of suppression. But for those of you who insist on smoking gun proof, you're not going to believe anything until you've seen it yourself. That begs the question. What can you see today? What you can see are a lot of rocks coming our way. The American Meteor Society was founded in 1911 for meteor observations. It is a reliable source for information about meteors and fireballs. If you need to see things for yourself, visit www.amsmeteors.org and support the effort. But why would you want to do that? Because on February 15, 2013, NASA had all of us focused on the flyby of asteroid 2012 DA14. After weeks of media hype, the flyby turned out to be a rather boring non-event. Yet, on the very same day, the Chelyabinsk meteor airbursted over the southern Urals. It was the largest rock to hit our planet in over a century, and its detonation released the equivalent energy of over 20 Hiroshima bombs. It damaged over 7,000 buildings, and 500 people had to seek medical treatment for wounds. When pressed by the media for an explanation as to why NASA never saw it coming, they finally had to admit that they were blindsided by this meteor because it came out of the sun and that they do not have any telescopes pointed in that direction. Still the same, can you imagine the carnage that would have occurred had this meteor airbursted over a major American city, with the equivalent energy of over 20 Hiroshima atomic bombs? The point here is that we can continue to argue about what is happening here on Earth in a way that keeps the consensus out of reach. But when it comes to meteors, there are no more frivolous debunker theories about natural variation, increased reporting, and, well, swamp gas. Just consequences. That is why visiting the American Meteor Society, the AMS, is something you can do today to see what's coming at us. To show you why, we're going to show what people are seeing and reporting from 2010 through October 2013 based on AMS observation reporting data. Next, you will see our statistical analysis for the following fireball observation trends: the average number of reports per event, number of reports by classification, multi-state event observations, fragmentation observations, events with sound reports, and finally a comparative trend summary that ties it all together. So let's begin. This series of slides shows the overall growth in the average number of reports per event for all classifications from January 1, 2010 to October 13, 2013. Of note is that in 2013, we see for the very first time in the history of AMS 2 fireball observations with over 1,000 reports each. So let's take a closer look at those reporting classifications. The AMS classifies meteor observations based on the number of reports per incident, where a mid-sized class event has 6 to 20 reports, a significant event has 21 to 50 reports, a large event has 51 to 100 reports, and a huge event has over 100 reports. So let's begin with a look at the mid-sized events. Here we see a pronounced jump from 2010 to 2011. Part of that jump can be attributed to the implementation of new reporting procedures by the AMS. Now let's add the number of significant reports with 21 to 50 observations each. Here we see a clear growth trend. Interestingly enough, there were no significant large events in 2010, but there were significant large events in 2011 and 2012, as well as a marked increase in 2013. In terms of huge events with over 100 reports, 2010 was barely noticeable. However, that picks up in 2011 and doubles in 2012, and then again in 2013. Given that we had 2 events with more than 1,000 observations in 2013, let's take a closer look at the uptick in huge events. Here we see the jump from 2011 to 2012 and then again to 2013 is stunning to say the least. Not only is the trend huge, so are the fireballs, or bolides as they are also called. So what's driving this trend? Multi-state observations. A multi-state event is where observations of the same fireball are reported in 2 or more states. And here we see a steady growth trend from 2010 to 2013. However, this underplays an even more profound change. Here we see a 15% increase from 2010 to 2013 in the number of reporting states by event. This clearly shows that these fireballs, or bolides if you will, are getting bigger. And another measure of this is fragmentation. Fragmentation is a key indicator of size, And while angle of attack and velocity also play a factor, the rule of thumb is the larger the meteor, the more likely it is to fragment, or break apart if you will. From 2011 through 2013, the number of meteors large enough to fragment skyrocketed according to AMS reporting data. This should be of real concern to all of us because this represents a 400% increase in just 3 years, and because there is a corresponding increase in sound as well. The AMS tracks two kinds of sounds: concurrent sounds heard during the flyby and delayed sounds heard just afterwards. These charts are a combination of both, and the trend is clear. Sound follows with fragmentation. And what is really striking is that sound and fragmentation reports for 2010 through 2013 show nearly identical increases. So now let's summarize what we've seen so far by looking at the growth trend percentages from 2010 to 2013. Now let's look at a big picture view of the AMS data based on the average number of observation reports per event, events with sound reports, fragmentation observations, and multi-state event observations. And what we see here, beginning with 2010, is a consistent growth trend by percentage from 2010 through to 2013. It is important to note that all of the data presented in this video is for the 2013 reporting period of January 1, 2013 to October 13, 2013, with 2.5 months yet to be reported. And for those of you who are still laboring with doubts about all of this, there is only one question you need to answer. What's throwing all these rocks at us? And what about those of you who no longer have any doubts about the need to plan and prepare for whatever may come? Do not plan against what you fear, but for what you love, because survival is not about holding on to things. It's about holding on to each other. For the Yowza.com and PlanetXTownHall.com research team, this is Marshall, and we'll catch you on the backside. On February 11, 2013, we published our findings in a video titled Object of Interest as Seen from the Turrialba Volcano. In this frame, you see Blue Bonnet above the Turrialba volcano and specification data for the Vulcan feed. Turrialba is 10 degrees north of the equator at approximately 11,000 feet, and the Vulcan camera was pointed to the southwest with a good view of the Pacific. In October 2007, the History Channel aired The Lost Book of Nostradamus for the first time. In this video, 7 prophetic images paint a catastrophic end to life as we know it. According to this program, Nostradamus is showing us the constellation of Fucus because it will play a pivotal role in the flyby. This was interesting because the Vulcan feed image data also shows Blue Bonnet transiting of the Vulcan feed camera at Turrialba. We initially used this technique in a rather limited way, but it later evolved into a powerful image analysis method. Also noted in this update was a video released by the 00 Skyview team on March 23, 2013 titled The 5 Uploaded Images from the Dance of the Stars video. In that video, they provided a chart that gave us an interesting possibility for Pacific Ocean on a clear day. In that video, we explained the difference between the horizon as we see it here on Earth and represented by the red line. The green line you see cutting through the center of the Sun is the ecliptic. The ecliptic is the plane of our solar system, and all of the planets orbit the Sun within a few degrees of it. This is important to know when analyzing a newly revealed and disturbing prediction by Nostradamus through or very near to the constellations Ophiuchus and Sagittarius in December of last year. Then on April 20th, 2013, we released an update video titled Blue Kachina and its Moon for our Turrialba object of interest. In doing our research, we began developing a new technique to analyze the imaging capabilities